Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we're unpacking the sheer depth of Seamus Heaney's absolute classic of a poem, Digging. And look, this isn't going to be just some quick, casual read-through. We are literally going to excavate this masterpiece line by line. Heaney, who by the way won the Nobel Prize, uses this exact piece to really dig into his identity, his roots, and his whole calling as a writer. By the time we wrap up this excavation, you are going to see exactly how words on a page can carry the exact same heavy, physical weight as turning the earth itself. It's really something.
So how exactly does a poet turn a pen into a shovel? It sounds like a riddle, right? But honestly, that question sits right at the heart of this entire poem. You see, Heaney grew up in Northern Ireland, completely surrounded by this deep, multi-generational tradition of farming and manual labor. But, well, he chose a totally different path. He chose to be a writer. So this poem, it's basically his attempt to bridge that intense agricultural past of his family with his own literary future. Let's look at exactly how he sets that up.
We're going to start right at the opening stanza. The speaker is sitting there at his desk, and he says, "Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun." Wow. Notice that incredibly striking comparison there. And the physical reality of those words, squat and snug. They actually give the pen this tactile, really heavy presence in his hand, before he suddenly shifts to that metaphorical gun. He's associating the pen with a weapon, kind of playing on that old idea that the pen is mightier than the sword, right? It's an instrument of outward force that can change minds. It's honestly a slightly aggressive start, framing intellectual labor as something almost combative.
And that striking comparison instantly sets up this tension between two very different tools. On one side, we've got the pen, the intellectual tool of the poet, this weapon of change. And on the other, we have the spade, the physical, heavy tool of his father and grandfather, which represents this massive, ancient agricultural tradition. Our narrator is caught right smack in the middle. He's holding the pen, but he's constantly feeling the phantom weight of that spade.
Now listen to the start of the second stanza. "Under my window, a clean rasping sound, when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father digging. I look down." That sharp auditory cue, that clean rasping sound, literally pulls the speaker right away from his desk. He looks out his window to watch his father's physical labor down below. So he's physically elevated, right, looking down, but he is also historically looking back, looking at a tradition that he's actually stepped away from.
And this next part just brilliantly illustrates the power of memory. As he watches his father, the lines read, "Till his straining rump among the flower beds, bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills where he was digging." I mean, Heaney uses that phrase 20 years away to create this incredibly fluid time shift. Suddenly, we aren't just looking at a window in the present anymore, we are seamlessly transported back into a childhood memory. The rhythmic, repetitive stooping of his father's work literally collapses time itself.
Then we get into this deeply sensory language. Just listen. The coarse boot nestled on the lug. The shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep, to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. We aren't just watching from afar anymore. We're getting the meticulous bodily mechanics of this labor. You can almost feel the exact leverage, the physical strain, and ultimately, the cool hardness of those newly scattered potatoes right in your own hands.
Which leads us to this really brief, awestruck couplet. "By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man." This acts as a really crucial bridge in the poem. The speaker isn't criticizing his family's way of life at all. He's revering it. He establishes this deep respect and immense pride in a male lineage that is just entirely defined by hard agricultural work. He is incredibly proud of where he comes from.
And the beauty here is how we can quite literally trace this family legacy step by step. We watch how the very definition of work evolves across 3 generations of Heaney men. Step 1, the grandfather cutting turf. Step 2, the father digging potatoes. And finally, Step 3, the son, realizing he must find a way to dig with his pen. The actual tools change, sure, but that lineage of effort, it stays completely intact.
So let's move even deeper into the past, into stanza 6. "My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper." We're totally transported to Toner's bog now. The memory zooms in on the grandfather's unparalleled physical skill in cutting peat, and it's contrasted so beautifully with the speaker's own childhood role. He was just a boy, bringing a bottle of milk corked sloppily with paper, to an absolute master at work.
No, a quick aside here. While the poem just says spade, a turf cutter, like his grandfather, would actually be using a specialized tool called a tergier. It's a type of peat spade. And this specific tool links the grandfather directly to the earth and to a very distinct Northern Irish tradition. It really acts as a symbol of that incredibly localized, intimate knowledge of the land that the grandfather possessed.
The memory continues. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. Notice that relentless striving rhythm in the phrase going down and down. This highly physical downward act of excavation really mirrors the metaphorical depth that Heaney seeks in his own writing. He wants his words to go down and down to uncover fundamental truths.
But wait, what exactly are they digging into? Well, as you'll see in academic analyses of Heaney's work, the bog isn't just mud. Not at all. It functions as a third space, a sort of hybrid environment that literally preserves history. In Northern Ireland, the damp, oxygen-poor environment of the bog perfectly preserves ancient artifacts and bodies. So for Heaney, the bog becomes this massive, overarching symbol for unearthing cultural and historical memory. When his grandfather digs into the bog, he's quite literally digging into history itself.
And you can truly feel that historical weight right away in stanza 7. The cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. I mean, just look at the phonetic late of words like squelch and slap. Seriously, say them out loud. They bring the sticky, wet sensory details of the bog so vividly to life. It is an absolutely incredible display of using hard consonant sounds to recreate a physical environment.
Even the mention of potato mold, which is that damp, earthy soil used for harvesting, acts as a massive olfactory trigger. Scent is tied so closely to memory, right? And this hyperlocal smell physically awakens the speaker's deep-rooted respect for his past. These memories aren't just abstract thoughts. They're fully alive in his head, realized completely through smell and sound.
But then, we hit this really crucial, grounding line. But I've no spade to follow men like them. This one line represents the major theme of self-acceptance here. Despite all of this deep reverence, the speaker admits a hard truth. He cannot literally continue the physical farming tradition of his ancestors. He just isn't a farmer. He doesn't have a spade.
Which brings us right to the stunning conclusion. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. Here, the poet makes a firm, empowering decision. He's going to honor his family's legacy by redefining his own work. He takes his pen, and instead of a weapon, he turns it into an instrument of intellectual excavation. He's going to dig into memory, history, and language exactly the same way his ancestors dug into the soil.
So, this whole journey really snaps into focus when we compare the beginning and the end. Think about it. Back in stanza 1, the pen is snug as a gun, a symbol of outward force, of weaponry. But by stanza 9, that same pen has been transformed into a spade, a tool for inward excavation and uncovering memory. Through this incredible shift, Heaney proves that the act of writing is every bit as noble, arduous, and essential as farming.
And through this line-by-line excavation we just did, look at all the rich themes we've unearthed. We see this brilliant redefinition of work, proving that intellectual labor truly mirrors physical labor. We witness a profound respect for family legacy and the past, and ultimately we see the incredible power of memory to help us accept who we are today.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to turn the focus over to you. What are you digging for, and what is your spade? Consider how you honor the legacy of the people who came before you, and think about what modern tools you use to dig into your own history and purpose. Thank you so much for joining me to explore Seamus Heaney's incredible work. Keep digging, and I'll catch you next time.